In the heart of Greek mythology lies a story darker than most, a tale not just of curses and monsters, but of betrayal, power, and prejudice. Medusa wasn't always the serpent-haired terror we know. She was once a devoted priestess, bound to purity and service. But what happens when the innocent become scapegoats for the powerful? When a woman becomes a target of divine cruelty, not for her sins, but for her existence? Her tragedy raises a chilling question. Was Medusa truly a monster, or was she made into one by a world that refused to see her humanity? Long before her name struck fear into the hearts of men, Medusa was a mortal woman of beauty and devotion. She served as a priestess in Athena's temple, sworn to chastity, humility, and unshaken faith. In the quiet of stone chambers lit by torches, her life was simple, structured, and marked by reverence. To her people, she was a symbol of hope, proof that a mortal could walk with the favor of the gods. But beneath the admiration was envy. Whispers spread of her beauty, so radiant it drew attention even from those who should never look upon her with desire. Her hair gleamed like spun gold. Her eyes shone like firelight on water, and her presence carried both innocence and danger. In a society quick to judge, her gifts made her vulnerable. Greek myths often paint Medusa as cursed for her arrogance. But what if arrogance wasn't her sin? What if her only crime was being born with a beauty she could not hide? When power, prejudice, and divine jealousy collide, even innocence becomes a target. And soon, Medusa would learn that the gods themselves could be as cruel as mortals. The temple was meant to be a sanctuary. Yet, one night, that sanctuary became a prison. Poseidon, god of the sea, entered Athena's sacred temple and set his eyes on Medusa. She had no escape, no voice that could silence the will of a god. What followed was not love but violation, a violence hidden beneath divine power. When dawn came, the temple walls bore the silence of betrayal. Medusa, broken and humiliated, remained kneeling at the altar, praying for Athena's protection. But protection never came. Instead, judgment did. Athena, enraged not at Poseidon but at Medusa, cast down her priestess with merciless cruelty. She stripped her of beauty, twisted her hair into venomous serpents, and cursed her gaze so that anyone who looked upon her turned to stone. It was not justice. It was punishment for being a victim. The world quickly forgot Medusa the priestess. To them, she became only the monster. The girl once praised for her purity now lived in exile, hidden away in a cave where the cries of isolation echoed louder than the sea. Travelers, warriors, and heroes hunted her, not because she threatened them, but because killing her brought glory. Each stone figure left in her path was not just an enemy, but a reminder of the prejudice she faced. No one asked what truly happened in Athena's temple. No one cared that her curse was not chosen, but forced upon her. To the world, her tragedy was entertainment, her suffering a tale told in hushed voices. But in her silence, in her isolation, Medusa embodied something more powerful than fear. She became the mirror of injustice, the proof that even God shows cruelty over compassion. And the story of her downfall was never about monsters. It was about how the innocent are twisted by the powerful into something they were never meant to be. Her story reached its peak with the arrival of Perseus, a hero hungry for glory. Armed with gifts from the gods, he was told Medusa must die, not because she threatened humanity, but because killing her promised prestige. Medusa, alone in her cave, was unaware of the betrayal closing in. For years she had lived in solitude, cursed for an act she did not commit. And yet, even as she stood surrounded by stone reminders of those who sought her death, she was still human at her core, a victim of injustice, desperately longing for peace. Perseus entered silently, shield polished to reflect her gaze. The moment he found her, the world sealed her fate. As she slept, unaware, he raised his blade and ended her life in a single stroke. Her serpents hissed one last cry, her blood spilling upon the earth. Yet even in death, her body bore power. From her neck sprang Pegasus, the winged horse, and Chrysaor, a warrior of gold, symbols of life born from her suffering. Medusa was gone, but her tragedy was immortalized. She became a symbol not of evil, but how society and gods alike turned victims into monsters, punishing the powerless while shielding the guilty. Her death was not triumph. It was silence. a silence that still echoes, reminding us of what happens when those without power are sacrificed to protect the powerful. Medusa's story did not end with her death. It lived on in the whispers of history, retold as a myth of monsters and heroes. Yet beneath the layers of legend lies a truth far more painful. Medusa was never the villain. She was a victim of a system that punished the powerless while excusing the powerful. In her transformation, we see the reflection of countless lives throughout history, those marked not by their crimes, but by the label society forced upon them. Just as Medusa was condemned for a beauty she never chose, so too have people of color, women, and the marginalized been condemned for traits they never asked for. Her curse mirrors the prejudice of a world eager to silence victims while glorifying oppressors. It asks us to look deeper, to question who we call monsters and why. Was Medusa truly dangerous, or was she a woman destroyed by a narrative she could not control? When we tell her story today, it should not be about snakes and stone, but about power and prejudice. It should remind us that behind every label, every stereotype, there is a human story worth listening to. And so, the next time you hear Medusa's name, don't remember her as a monster. Remember her as a priestess who was betrayed, silenced, and rewritten by those more powerful than her. Then ask yourself, how many Medusas still walk among us today, misunderstood, mislabeled, and waiting for someone to finally see the truth?